Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. So I thought I would record a little late night video. I wasn't originally planning on it, but I finished a live stream with Eric and Brandon, and I kind of realized that I was going to grab a little snack, and then at the same time I was waiting for the Apple Watch to charge, which was a mistake. I should have started charging that during the end of the live stream, and then I'd be done by now. So regardless, I got a little time here while I'm waiting for all that to happen, but I realized I haven't really had the opportunity to record a video like this because it just hasn't come up. You know, the title kind of gives it away and everything. But I thought I would talk about this first. So this is going to be a very different video than a lot of the other stuff on the channel. Usually it'll be, I've got some cards here, so I'll show them. Which already is a departure since we don't show cards on this channel. That's just silly. But anyway, so here, 2019 Bowman Best. I actually showed this on a pickup video there. It's not a pickup. It's something I've had for a while. But it was something that I had kind of listed. I'd actually had this listed on eBay for a while. But the price on these things fell through the floor. I didn't realize the 2019 Bowman Best, people don't seem to really be that interested in them. That's the gold refractor version out of 50. So I'll hang on to it. That's not a problem by me. In this case, I guess thematically appropriate. But I wanted to talk about the Blue Jays going to the World Series for the first time since 1993. And part of what led into it, in addition to my having the time, since I'm waiting for some stuff to finish here, was that I got a chance to watch a couple of podcasts and everything. So since I'm in the mood, obviously, I figured I would watch a couple of podcasts talking about it. And one of the fun things about this, and I talked about it on the live stream, and then I did it also in the live stream tonight, was that I said that I was making a concerted effort to really enjoy the path and the process on this one. They were playing a Game 7 tonight. And the reality was, just as easily it could have been Seattle winning. And then that would have taken them to the World Series for the first time, which would have been a good baseball story. But Seattle and LA, I'm being honest. Seattle and LA, I wouldn't have been interested. I would have watched a little bit, for sure, because I'm always going to watch a little bit of the World Series. But at the end of the day, both teams were, and this is remaining, the way this is, the betting odds are going to go, is that both teams were competing for the opportunity to get slaughtered by the Dodgers. That's the expectation. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, specifically from the Blue Jay perspective. The Blue Jays did end up winning that game. They did a great job down the stretch. I was very impressed that they hung in there. It was very gritty of them. I'll admit fully it was a surprise. And a pleasant surprise, I will say. The funny thing about this is that coming off of last year, where they were 5th place in the division. So going from 5th place to the preseason, where if you were a betting individual, you could have bet on the over-under. And this Jays team had an over-under of 78.5 wins. So 79 wins would have won you that. Well, they went beyond that and managed to win the division for the first time in 10 years, which already, fantastic. And I'll kind of show off a couple of things while I'm talking. Because as I said, I was going to enjoy the whole process. And part of it is, you know, I kind of had some fun with it, but it's buying overpriced swag. Like this hat right here. This one here is the division winner hat. The reality is, if you're a Yankees fan or one of these other teams that are consistently perennially in the playoffs and always in the mix, you're not going to bother with something like this. But Jay's history is not rife in recent times, and I'll get to that in a minute. But in recent times, it's not rife with a lot of that. It's one of those things where they made the playoffs. I would say in the last 10 years, they've had a nice little run where they've actually had some playoff appearances, but for the most part, not a lot of success. After 2015 and 2016, 2 ALCS appearances, which is really great. But it's one of those things where they were never necessarily in the mix. And that's what kind of was interesting about this season, in that they got there. And then on top of it, they beat the Yankees team, which made it to last year's World Series. So on paper, that's something that you had to kind of overcome. So they did. And then they play this Mariners team with Cal Raleigh, a 60 home run hitter, and a potent lineup that has the opportunity to cause some trouble. But it's one of those things where they managed to get to a Game 7. And the 2 previous ALCS appearances, they had won no more than 2 games. Both of them were lost in 6. So they were never in a position to actually eliminate the other team. They were in elimination games, but they were elimination games for themselves that they lost. In this case, Game 7, both teams could get eliminated. Whoever's going to win goes to the World Series. That's a first. So we had the division hat. Then we got the ALCS hat. We got the little fitted one with the postseason one. So I'm wasting a lot of money on these stupid hats. But part of the reason I did that, you know, obviously in this channel we talk a lot about collectibles, but it's mostly in the realm of trading cards. And like I said, I showed that Vladdy card off the top. And on the live stream, I did share one that I actually purchased. Good timing, I guess, on that one for me. But regardless, the funny thing about the whole thing was that this is part of enjoying the process. But part of the reason for that is that we don't have the memorabilia stuff that would have been available before. Before, you could have been collecting ticket stubs for the different... You could have a DS ticket stub. You could have the ALCS ticket stub. And then now a World Series ticket stub. No matter what happens, you know, even if the Dodgers beat them in 4, you're going to have 2 games. You're going to get 2 games in Toronto where you're going to have that opportunity to have it. And what struck me when I was watching the podcast episode was that a lot of the people doing the podcast episode for the Jays now on YouTube are younger guys. They're these like 20-something kids. And some of them kind of acknowledge off the top that it's exciting for them in part because they weren't alive when the World Series years were happening. It was before their time. And looking at that, that was kind of funny in a certain way. It also makes me feel very old because I do remember those World Series years. And that's why I kind of miss having the option to have some of those souvenirs. One of the things that I'll share on Friday, there is a poster. I went to double check that I still had it because I haven't hung it up in a while, and since I moved from my old place, I didn't hang it up. But it was actually a framed poster from the 1992 World Series, and you can imagine if I gave you a second and you wanted to guess what player it was. If you want to play along, just pause the video for a second and take a guess who that poster was for the 1992 World Series. So assuming you paused it and taken your guess, the answer is Pat Borders, who was the MVP of the 1992 World Series. And the reason that I have that poster framed is because years ago, I think some years, not long after the World Series years and everything, my dad actually went and did us a favor and got the poster signed from Pat Borders. So it's to Roberto, my younger brother, and myself, and it's autographed by Pat Borders, the 1992 World Series MVP. So that's a little piece of memorabilia. I had that actually hung up in my room when I was a kid. And since then, I've gotten autographs from some of the other Blue Jays from 1992 and 1993. So it's a little mini collection that I put together. Nothing too crazy. But it's one of those things where it's a nice nostalgic thing. But as I said, looking at the current iteration of it, there's a lot of stuff that we don't have anymore. I mentioned the ticket stub thing. But then another thing we don't have, and this will be a good example here because I've got a couple of these. So I don't know if any of you remember these. So there were these box sets. They used to make them. I want to say it was A&E. Yeah, it was A&E Home Video that actually made these things. They're box sets. They actually would contain, on each one of these DVDs, the entirety of full games. So in this case, this is the 2001 World Series. And I have a small collection of these, about 5 or 6 of them, for different World Series that were memorable to me or interesting for different reasons. Obviously, 2001 was a very memorable World Series, if you remember that. In addition to, I always enjoy when the Yankees lose. And this was actually the one that killed the mini Yankee dynasty they had going on. So after 1996, they had won the 3 World Series in a row. This is the one that broke that run. And they would go on. They didn't win another World Series until 2009. I think they also played in 2003, and there may have been another one. I remember 2001 them losing. 2003 was, I think, the Marlins. And I don't remember if there was another one after that before 2009. But anyway, 2009 they did eventually win, but this was the one that kind of broke that run. And it was a hell of a World Series. It went to 7 games. It was very entertaining. That was Curt Schilling and Randy Johnson making big performances in that one. It was a crazy World Series. But now imagine, you've got the entire World Series available. Again, DVD or not, you can sit down and pop any of these in and watch the game in its entirety. So right there, this is something I would love for this to have existed for the Blue Jays for 92 or 93. I would happily have bought both of them. But they just weren't available. They didn't make them for every single one of the World Series, unfortunately. Those are 2 that I would love to see happen. I don't think they make those things anymore for the World Series. Like 2024, I was Googling just to check. I was curious if they had anything like that for 2024, because obviously in the modern day it would be Blu-rays. But apparently they don't make those anymore, and that's kind of unfortunate. So again, going back to what I said a few minutes ago, we don't have all these things that are these little mini souvenirs. And why even bother with the souvenirs? Because for most fan bases, it's not going to be the norm. It's one of those things, this could very well be a one and done. You know, if they get swept in 4 or they take it to 7 or whatever happens, it's going to be an opportunity. And kind of watching those podcasts reminded me, for an entire generation, this is the first taste of what a World Series looks like. And even though as a baseball fan, I do watch the World Series every year, this is actually my first chance to watch my team actually play in a World Series in high definition. That's kind of a little running joke that I have with a lot of it. I've been fortunate, though. It's one of those things where I can't afford to enjoy it because I have gotten to watch all my teams win. But it's been so long. I talked about that poster and I talked about those box sets. I actually had at one point a bunch of the games for 92 and 93, but they were all in VHS. That's how long ago it goes back. And they weren't fresh VHS tapes at the time. They were actually, I forget, I taped over something else to put the World Series games on there so I could watch it. And I was a kid at the time. I was 9 and 10 years old in 92 and 93. And, I got to stay up and watch those games. And I've always been a Jays fan, but it's one of those things where you kind of, the years go by, you enjoy the different teams. I've had a lot of fun. Some of those teams that weren't very good were very fond memories for me. Going to the ballpark when honestly nobody wanted to go. That's what's kind of funny about this, kind of enjoying this little mini renaissance, is that nobody wanted to go. You could get the tickets dirt cheap. You were literally getting them. There was I talked about on the podcast, in the live stream, they had the Toronto Star season ticket pass, and you could buy that in advance of the season for $81. And as long as they had seats available, they always had seats available, you could go to any one of the 81 home games. They were all available. You were literally getting the games for $1. That's what it was, because they just wanted to put some butts in the seats so they could sell some concessions. So I've been to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games. Now, just off screen, it's a little bit over there. You know, again, I can talk about it during the live. When people see the live, there's a little box there that they can sometimes see, and it's got a little Blue Jay logo on it. And 2013, for my 30th birthday, I actually bought myself a set of season tickets. And the price was going to be jacked up right after that. And I had season tickets. It was at the 500 level. And believe it or not, the 500 level was, I think it was like $500 or $600 for the season, for the 81 games. You got a box, and you got the tickets, and you got a bunch of swag included in it. Even at the end of the season, because it wasn't a particularly good season, they went and actually gave us autographed baseball with a whole setup and a little display and everything. So it was a really good deal. And also, we got the starter jacket. Basically, the team jacket was included as part of it. So you imagine, $600. You're getting this baseball with the display. You're getting the jacket. And I think you had a $200 voucher for concessions and everything. So basically, they were effectively paying you to take these tickets. So now, fast forward to today, it's the company's owned by a media conglomerate. They own the network, they own the stadium, they own all the things. So the team is in the World Series for the first time in 32 years. And the tickets are going to be crazy. I can't even imagine. I'm looking forward to actually looking into it. I'm curious. Out of my price range. But it's one of those things where I do hope that the people that actually pay, the freight to go check out those games do enjoy it, because it's not automatic. And it's one of those, that's the reason why I'm buying these stupid overpriced hats. I already ordered one for the World Series with a little World Series patch on the side of it. Of course, I want to get the one that has the World Series on the front of it as well. So I got my little hat collection that I'm building. Apparently, can't have ticket stubs. Not going to get a box set, no matter what happens. And so I may as well buy my overpriced silly hats. And I'll probably get a couple of cards. The Expo's coming up in a couple of weeks and everything, so probably we'll get a couple of J's things. We'll get some swag. Either way, we'll have some fun and we'll get some swag related to it. Enjoy the moment. But it is an interesting perspective to be able to listen to the podcast and listen to voices of kids, effectively, that are getting to experience this one for the first time. And again, I'm not super sentimental about that kind of stuff at this point, but I've also kind of taken stock that I may not get a chance to see that again. There's no guarantee. So even if they lose, at least I got to see it. And I got to see it with fresh eyes without having to just reach back to distant memories. I can watch the replay. Like, obviously, we've got the replay. I can watch the Joe Carter home run in Game 6 in '93 as many times as I want. And I would happily enjoy doing that. But again, it's one of those things where seeing it in the moment is one thing. These are going to be fresher memories. And I'm going to get a chance to see it in kind of in real time, happening all over again. So we alluded to it, kind of had some fun with it on the live stream. I think I'll do a watch along of some kind, like my team's in it. I kind of got to do it. So we'll see how the scheduling and everything works out on the channel. So thank you for indulging me. I don't think this is going to be a particularly interesting video for most of you. I just kind of wanted to sit down and encapsulate the moment as I kind of sit here and think about it. So this week is going to be busy. I'm going to be doing the podcast episode for AMG on the channel over there. So we'll talk about this a little bit. We'll have a little bit of fun with it because it's kind of a quiet week for products. So we'll talk about that, because they're Jays fans over there as well, so we're going to have some fun with it. I'll probably talk to Brad and see if maybe he wants to chat. Obviously, they opened up the PSA Canada office, so regardless, I was going to talk to him anyway about how the first week's gone and all that good stuff, and then talk about maybe some stuff he's looking forward to at the Expo, but we'll definitely talk some Jays. Like, that'll be kind of a fun thing. But overall, it's interesting. It's an interesting feeling just knowing that I get a chance to see and do this one more time. Again, with no guarantees. It's been 32 years. Optimistically, I like to pretend I got 100 years, but realistically, another 32 years might be a bit of a stretch. It's one of those things. Every year that goes by gets a little bit tougher. And it is interesting, because if I think back to what things look like at the end of the season in 1993, I'm not sure what my thought process would have been at 10 years old, thinking, this is the last time you're going to see this for a lifetime. You're not even in high school. You're going to get to high school, finish university, go to work. Entire lifetime will go by. And it'll only be many, 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 many years later that you'll finally get a chance to see another World Series game that actually involves the team you watch. So, with that said, that's enough. So, just some thoughts kind of randomly in the evening. I figured I would do that now and kind of, maybe I'll get a chance to sit back and watch it later. But yeah, I'm going to do some watch-alongs, like I said. We're going to kind of embrace the moment and have some fun with it. We'll see what happens with it, good, bad, or indifferent. We've got at least a little bit of time now to prepare for it. Now I've got some overpriced World Series swag to purchase, so that'll be fun. So, more videos coming up on the channel. Live stream on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Longest running episodic, whatever it is, we don't know. usual kind of thing. And then we've got a couple weeks, and then we'll be heading into Expo. And then we'll see kind of what this particular year has in store for us. But the Expo itself, I'm really looking forward to it, because now we're getting really close. Now it actually starts to feel that way. So it's kind of fun that we've got these couple of two different things to look forward to kind of happening all at the same time. So with that said, regular videos coming up on the next sequence of them. Otherwise, like if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much, and we'll catch you in the next one.